Nestled amidst the towering pines of the Sierra Nevada mountains, Keddie, California was a haven for vacationers and those seeking solace. A small, sleepy resort community, Keddie was known for its rustic charm and tranquil atmosphere. In the early 1980s, however, a chilling crime shattered the serenity of Keddie, leaving an indelible mark on the town's history. Cabin 28, nestled among the other cabins, became the epicenter of this chilling tale. On April 12, 1981, the walls of Cabin 28 would bear witness to unspeakable horrors. The Keddie Cabin murders, as they came to be known, remain one of California's most baffling unsolved crimes. The sheer brutality of the murders, coupled with the lack of concrete answers, has fueled countless theories and speculation over the years. The passage of time has done little to quell the intrigue surrounding the case, as people continue to grapple with the question, who could commit such a heinous act and why? On the morning of April 12, 1981, a scene of unimaginable horror awaited the residents of Keddie. The stillness of the mountain air was broken by the frantic cries of 12-year-old Sheila Sharp, who had just stumbled upon a scene that would forever alter the course of her life. Inside Cabin 28, she discovered the lifeless bodies of her mother, Sue Sharp, her mother's boyfriend John Sharp, and her mother's friend, Dana Wingate. The cabin was a disarray, a testament to the brutal struggle that had unfolded within its walls. The victims had been bound with electrical cord and medical tape, their bodies bearing the marks of a savage attack. Sue Sharp, John Sharp, and Dana Wingate had all suffered multiple stab wounds, their deaths a grim testament to the killer's rage. The scene was chaotic, blood splattered across the walls and furniture, painting a gruesome picture of the violence that had transpired. The discovery sent shockwaves through the small community of Keddie, shattering the illusion of peace and safety that had once pervaded the town. The brutality of the murders suggested a crime of passion, yet the motive remained elusive. Who would want to harm Sue Sharp and her companions so savagely? And why were they targeted in such a remote location? To understand the perplexing nature of the Keddie Cabin murders, we must rewind the clock to the events leading up to that fateful night. On April 11, 1981, Sue Sharp, her 5 children, and her boyfriend John Sharp were enjoying a typical evening at Cabin 28. Dana Wingate, a close friend of Sue's, was also staying at the cabin with her 2 children. The children played games, watched television, and enjoyed the company of one another, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. As the evening progressed, the children eventually drifted off to sleep, their innocent slumber undisturbed by the sinister events unfolding elsewhere in the cabin. Sometime during the night, an intruder or intruders gained access to the cabin. The means of entry remains a mystery to this day, as there were no signs of forced entry. The killer or killers subdued and bound Sue Sharp, John Sharp, and Dana Wingate. The children, asleep in their rooms, remained oblivious to the struggle taking place just feet away. The killer then proceeded to brutally murder the 3 adults, leaving a scene of unimaginable carnage in their wake. The investigation into the Keddie Cabin murders was immediately hampered by a series of missteps and oversights. The crime scene, though initially cordoned off, was compromised within hours as friends and family members were allowed to enter the cabin. This lapse in protocol potentially contaminated crucial evidence, making it difficult to determine what belonged to the perpetrator and what belonged to the victims. Adding to the complexity of the case was the discovery of Sue Sharp's son, 12-year-old Justin Smart, missing from the scene. Despite an extensive search effort, Justin Smart remained missing for 3 agonizing years. Then, in 1984, a gruesome discovery was made in a wooded area not far from Keddie. A human skull, later identified as Justin's, was found, confirming the worst fears of investigators and the community. As investigators delved deeper into the Keddie Cabin murders, they began to piece together a puzzle with more questions than answers. The lack of forced entry suggested that the killer may have been familiar with the victims or the cabin itself. The brutality of the murders, particularly the overkill nature of the stab wounds, pointed to a crime fueled by rage or a personal vendetta. One of the initial persons of interest was Martin Smart, Sue Sharp's ex-husband and the father of 3 of the children present in the cabin that night. Martin had a history of violence and had threatened Sue in the past. He was known to be struggling with alcohol abuse and had expressed resentment towards Sue's new relationship. However, Martin had an alibi for the night of the murders. and investigators were unable to find any concrete evidence linking him to the crime. Another individual who drew the attention of investigators was a man named Severin John Bo Boubede. Boubede, a former Plumas County Sheriff's deputy, had a troubled past and had been fired from the force for misconduct. However, like Martin Smart, Boubede maintained his innocence, and investigators were unable to gather sufficient evidence to charge him with the crime. The possibility that the Keddie cabin murders were connected to the region's drug trade has fueled countless theories and speculation over the years. In the 1970s and 1980s, the remote and rugged terrain of the Sierra Nevada mountains made it an ideal location for marijuana cultivation. Keddie, once a sleepy resort town, had become a hub for growers and traffickers, attracting a criminal element that clashed with the town's peaceful facade. Rumors circulated that Sue Sharp and her companions were involved in the local drug trade, either as growers, sellers, or users. Some whispered that they had run afoul of a powerful drug lord, or had become entangled in a dangerous web of deals and betrayals. While the drug connection remains a tantalizing theory, it is important to note that there is no concrete evidence linking the Keddie cabin murders to any specific drug-related activity. The investigation into the Keddie cabin murders was plagued by a series of missteps, oversights, and a lack of resources that ultimately hindered the pursuit of justice. The Plumas County Sheriff's Department, a small and understaffed agency, was ill-equipped to handle a crime of this magnitude. The crime scene, though initially cordoned off, was compromised within hours, as friends and family members were allowed to enter the cabin, potentially contaminating crucial evidence. Adding to the challenges faced by investigators was the remote location of the crime scene and the tight-lipped nature of the Keddie community. Many residents were reluctant to cooperate with law enforcement, fearing retribution from those involved in the murders, or simply wanting to avoid getting caught up in the investigation. Despite the challenges, investigators pursued every lead, interviewing hundreds of individuals, conducting polygraph tests and following up on countless tips and rumors. However, the investigation failed to produce any concrete evidence that could lead to an arrest. The Keddie cabin murders cast a long shadow over the once peaceful community, forever altering its image and the lives of its residents. The idyllic mountain town, once a symbol of tranquility and escape, became synonymous with violence, mystery, and unanswered questions. The murders shattered the illusion of safety and security that had once pervaded Keddie, leaving residents to grapple with the knowledge that evil could lurk even in the most picturesque of settings. In the aftermath of the murders, fear and suspicion gripped the community. Neighbors who had once greeted each other with smiles and waves now eyed each other with distrust, wondering if the killer lurked among them. Parents kept a closer watch on their children, no longer allowing them to roam freely through the woods or play unsupervised in the town's once welcoming parks. The once thriving tourism industry in Keddie suffered a significant decline as news of the murders spread. The cabins that had once been filled with the laughter of families on vacation now stood empty, their windows dark and lifeless. Despite the passage of time, the Keddie cabin murders continue to captivate the public's imagination, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and online forums dedicated to unraveling the mystery. The case has become a true crime obsession, with amateur sleuths and armchair detectives poring over the details, searching for clues that may have been overlooked by law enforcement. The brutality of the murders, the lack of a clear motive, and the mystery surrounding Justin Smart's disappearance all contribute to the case's enduring appeal. Over the years, there have been numerous attempts to revive the investigation into the Keddie cabin murders. New leads have been pursued, evidence has been re-examined using modern forensic techniques, and persons of interest have been re-interviewed. However, despite these efforts, the case remains unsolved, and the identity of the killer or killers remains a mystery. The Keddie cabin murders serve as a testament to the fact that some mysteries may never be fully solved. The Keddie cabin murders continue to haunt us with a chilling question. What really happened on that fateful night in April 1981? The lack of concrete answers and the passage of time have only served to deepen the mystery, leaving us to grapple with endless possibilities and the unsettling knowledge that the truth may forever remain elusive. Did the killer act alone, or were multiple individuals involved in the planning and execution of the murders? What was the motive behind the killings? Was it a crime of passion, a robbery gone wrong, or a targeted act of revenge? And why were the three adults murdered, while the children, including Justin Smart, were initially spared? The disappearance and subsequent discovery of Justin Smart's remains only add to the complexity of the case. Was Justin the killer's primary target, with the murders of the adults merely a means to an end? Or was his abduction and murder a way to silence a potential witness, or to inflict further pain and suffering on the victims' families? The Keddie cabin murders stand as a chilling reminder that even in the most peaceful of settings, darkness can lurk, and evil can strike without warning. The case serves as a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human need to seek answers, even when those answers may be forever out of reach.